Hi, welcome inside the CitrusTV studios for this web edition of Cuse Countdown. Alongside Jared Barton, Kevin Ryans, I'm Matt Reil. Syracuse takes on Virginia Tech 3:45 on Saturday. Guys, Virginia Tech comes into this game with the number 3 ranked defense, and off a big win against UNC. Does Syracuse stand a chance?
I think so. They always have a chance, especially with that offense. Can they put everything together, especially on the defensive end?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. These ACC games are always tough. Look at it. Wake Forest last week. People thought that was just going to be a walk in the park. Well, it's not really. And this is a Virginia Tech team that they haven't played in years. So it's going to be a good one.
Well, let's hear what Eric Dungy and Dino Babers had to say on the upcoming game.
Virginia Tech's defense is, they're really good. The front 6 and front 3, those guys can rush. So it's going to be a tough game, but I'm looking forward to, being back in the dome. They're pass rushers. They can rush, and, they got a lot of guys in the backfield, and they're athletic, and they're long. So it's going to be a great challenge, and they've had a lot of success over it.
The toughest thing that's been going on so far this year is just to have the massive turnover in personnel, and then to have to constantly reteach or go back to a certain level as the weakest link in your chain to start growing again, start building again on that foundation so that you can start doing more exotic things, offensively and defensively. I don't consider our coaches to be average. I don't consider myself to be average. And I thought that game we were just okay. We've got to be a lot better as coaches, and we've got to make sure that we're giving every opportunity for these young men to have an opportunity to go to a bowl.
Look, you guys just heard him. He said the coaches need to be better. What do you make of his remarks?
I didn't like when he said that, we got to make sure we got to clean up and make sure everyone's ready. Everyone should be ready by now. We're 6 games in. I don't care if you're the second string, the third string. It's called next man up, especially when you have injuries on the defensive end or on the offensive end. Everyone has to be able to do their part. And if they're not ready to go playing in week 7, that's a problem.
Not only that, he said his coaching staff is just okay the last couple of weeks. This is a group of people that have been together for 4 or 5 years at a time. Dino brought a lot of his guys from Bowling Green, and they need to gel as a unit, because if they're not gelling, then the team isn't going to be gelling either, and that's very important if you're going to win any games.
Well, we are 6 games through Dino Babers' first season as Syracuse head coach, so let's grade the squad, give you guys your mid-season report card. So first, we're going to start with that hyped up offense. What grade would you give them, Kevin?
I'm going to give them a B-. I really like the way they're moving the ball up and down the field, throwing-wise, and they put up the numbers there. They score definitely a lot of points. The biggest thing, though, with the offense is they don't have a running game. Dante Strickland, except for a couple of runs from him, the running game is almost non-existent, and it really does affect the way they go about throwing the ball. They basically play with half an offense, and teams are going to go line up and know that Syracuse is going to be throwing the ball most of the time. Syracuse offense gets a B- just because of the lack of the running game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the C here. It's going to be a little worse because the offense is there in like the first quarter, and then the second, third, and fourth, sometimes it just disappears. And you can't have that. You need to play a full game, a full 60 minutes. If you don't do that, you're going to have a very, very hard time winning any games. It's been good with some of the passing, but they go away from that play calling. They want to run more, even though, look at Dante Strickland. He only has 1 touchdown. It was in last week's game. You got to have more than 1 touchdown as the starting running back for the team. So there's still a lot of work to be done on the offensive side.
Well, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. The defense that has already let up more than 40 points in 3 games this year. A lot to work on there. What grade would you give them, Jared?
I'm going to go with a D- here, and that's a little rough as well. This is a team that has good players. Zaire Franklin is a great player. He averages like 10 tackles a game. Paris Bennett is another guy that puts up a lot, usually a double-digit tackler in each game. Davon Ellison, another guy, young corner, a young guy in the secondary that they really need to step up, and he has at times, but not 100% of the time. And there's some other players on the team that just don't fill those roles that they need. Right. They need guys to step up. Cordell Hudson is another great example of a person that needs to step up. He can't just get beat and hurdled every game. Yeah. So you got to play better on the defensive side if you want anything to get better going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to give him a lower grade as well. I'm going to give it a lower grade than Jared, F. They have not been, there is, 3 of the 6 games or 4 of the 16, they give them 40 points or more. Yeah. That's way too much. You're an FBS team. You're supposed to go out there and be prepared. And there are times where at the start of games that they're not prepared at all for anything, a throwing play or a running play. they gave up the first play from scrimmage against Louisville and against Notre Dame. They gave up touchdowns. It's unacceptable if you're a team in the ACC. You got to go out there and compete with your competitors, and they just at times have not done that, and they still struggle at the corner position, even with all the departures they've had in the last couple of seasons. Cordell Hudson, how many times is he going to have a holding penalty in the secondary? He's been brutal. I will agree with you that Paris Bennett and Zaire Franklin have been great this year at the linebacking core, but that has really been the only plus side for Syracuse on the defensive end.
Next, we'll move to special teams. They've had an up and down year so far. Kevin, we'll start with you. What grade would you give them?
I want to give them a D, and the reason why it's a D, it's a low grade, but the only thing that's been great for them has been Bristly Esteem in the return game. He had the one game against Notre Dame where he was really impressive. He had, I think, over 100 yards in the return game, which is very good for them. But other than that, they haven't been that great. Cole Murphy has not been consistent in terms of kicking the field goals, and then Sterling Hoffrichter has been abysmal at times with the punting game. So they really need to clean that stuff up. Right now, it's a D, and then those two sections of it, the punting and then the kicking game, bring that grade down a little bit. If they just were able to do that a little bit more efficiently, they'd have a higher grade, a C or maybe a B.
I'm going to go with a D as well. And another thing that you didn't mention was the kick return game, or should say lack thereof. Sean Riley is a new guy that just came into the system and needs to fill another role because Bristly Esteem can't do it all himself. Right. So that needs to get better. They need to get some more yards on the kickoff. On the kick return, I should say, to set your offense up for success. But Cole Murphy has just been so disappointing. Yeah. He's a guy that was practically spot on his first couple of seasons here. Now, I'm not sure, the weather has been a factor. Some of the holds and snaps have been a factor, but you can't pin it all on those guys. And you're right, Sterling Hoffrichter has just been atrocious at times. He needs to get better as well.
Finally, now the head man himself, Dino Babers, 2-4 so far in his first year as Syracuse head coach. What grade would you give him? Jared, we'll start with you.
D+, and it's because, you preached an offense that was supposed to be fast. You preached an offense that was supposed to have a great run game, and that's how you want to live by, but it hasn't been that. The only success that they've really had has been in the pass game, and then they shy away from that come the second and third quarter. They go to try to be a conservative run offense, and it doesn't work. So that needs to change. There needs to be some sort of switch. They need to get some more passing plays, I think, downfield into their offensive system if they want to have success.
Well, I think I'm going to go a little bit nicer. I actually like the way Dino Babers has instilled this offense and has been able to get at least that going a little bit better. So for me to see what the problems are on the defense, and the defense is at times very much unprepared to play games. And for you as a head coach, you got to be able to get your team ready for your opponent, and at times they haven't been. But the offense does put up a lot of points, and that's what he's preaching. And he's preaching that they're going to be faster, and they're going to be, all this other stuff. They're going to run better. They're going to throw better. They're going to have, the crowd's going to be into it. At times they have been. And I really think that it's a work in progress here. They haven't had everybody healthy, and that's always an issue. And then on top of that, they are having some success. So a C, I think it's a fair grade right here for Dino Babers.
Well, hopefully you guys haven't been getting as bad grades as you just gave Syracuse. I don't know if Mom would be too happy about that. Moving back to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's been great all year, guys. Number 17 in the country, and as I mentioned earlier, the number 3 ranked defense in the country. What does Syracuse have to do to have a chance in this, and what is your key to the game?
All right, I'm going to start off with defensive preparation. Can Dino Babers get his team to, from the first snap, play some good defense? Can Cordell Hudson not have a pass interference penalty? That's been one of the things that have brought Syracuse down all season. Can the defense get a pass rush? They have to be ready for their opponent. The quarterback, Evans for Virginia Tech, very efficient, has over 1,000 yards plus passing, 15 touchdowns. He doesn't throw interceptions, doesn't turn over the ball a lot. So they know they're going to face an efficient quarterback. Can they be prepared to face an offense like that? Maybe not the greatest offense, maybe not going to be lighting up in the top of the FBS, but definitely, can they be prepared for an offense like that is good and that can really go down and throw the ball? So I need the defense to be a little bit prepared for this game.
For me, it's the offensive play calling. It needs to get better. They need to get shy away from the run game that they don't have, and they need to get more passes downfield. It'll help them in the long run if they continue to pass downfield, utilize receivers that they seem to just shy away from. The Steve Ishmaels, Irv Phillips is used early on, and now he's kind of not really in there. And Brisley Esteem can also be used in the offense. He's not just a punt returner. So my plea is to please just switch up the offensive play calling, and you might have more success.
Now, final thing here, guys, before we leave, who wins the game? Jared, we'll start with you.
It's going to be Virginia Tech, 42-21, the final score. Syracuse will probably come out guns a-blazing with the pass game in the first quarter, and that'll probably go away like we've seen how many times over the season. But the Virginia Tech offense it's not the greatest in the nation, but it's still very good. Yeah. And ACC play is always competitive. So look for Virginia Tech to get a win in the Dome.
42-21 for you. For me, it's 37-24. I think Syracuse is going to put up the numbers on offense. It's just whether or not they can cover on defense and everything. 37 points seems to be like a regular for Syracuse when they play, especially the top-tier teams. For me, it's going to be this score, 37-24. If they can pass on offense, they're going to stay in the game. It's just maybe is the field goal unit going to be missing field goals, in key moments. Can the defense get any stops? I don't think they will. So, at least the big ones. And so that's why it's going to be a 13-point advantage for Virginia Tech.
Well, both our analysts taking Virginia Tech in this one, and that'll do it here on Cuse Countdown for this web edition. Be sure to follow us at CitrusTV Sports for all content throughout the week, and also check out our website at CitrusTV.com. Syracuse, Virginia Tech, 3:45 on Saturday. It'll be a good one for Jared Barton, Kevin Ryans. I'm Matt Ryil. Enjoy the game.